Minister, RTE reported recently, based on figures from my constituency colleague Deputy Cullinan, that the average waiting times for people now to admission to hospital, to emergency departments, has increased by and it's up now at 11.7 hours in Irish hospitals. And they also show that children are now waiting up to 13.3 hours, as are over 75s. And Stephen McMahon of the Irish Patient Association rightly pointed out that you're talking about average times here, and that so therefore we're also talking about people spending up to and over 24 hours a day, and even more waiting on a trolley to get into a hospital bed. The figure is now 550 trolley count on average per day, 24,000 hospital appointments and elective procedures cancelled in April 2023 alone, a national hospital waiting list of over 880,000 patients, and community GP and out-of-hours cover impacted across the country. All of these metrics hardly point to a stellar record by Government, Minister. I too wish to raise the issue that Deputy Cullinan outlined earlier on of a 78-year-old Dungarvan woman who was referred to Waterford A&E in the mistaken belief that she could have some fairly basic routine diagnostics done there by her Dungarvan GP, obviously unaware of basically what is happening in Waterford at the moment, Minister, as you well know, because of the closure of the Wexford A&E. And that lady she presented for a chest x-ray and some bloods, and ended up sitting on a chair for over 24 hours at 78 years of age, diagnosed with heart failure, Minister. And I would ask you, and obviously she didn't get a bed nor a trolley because they weren't available. I ask you, Minister, to ask your colleague, is this acceptable in a first world country anymore? And how does it play out in real life? Well, you see it like that. Let me give you my own experience, Minister. My daughter was concussed recently playing Gaelic, and I had to bring her into the hospital towards the end of April, late night into A&E. And there we sat in the new circus tent outside the Waterford A&E department, where she waited for 4.5 hours to be seen. And that's fair enough, no issue with that. But what I had an issue with was, it was 0 degrees outside, and with the hospital staff coming out past midnight, handing out soup and sandwiches and blankets to the people waiting there. Now ask her, where else in the country would you see that, Minister? And where else is it going to be supported by this government? We have been highlighting for years the capacity problems in the South East. And Minister, this includes your own hospital, Wexford General. But the Waterford emergency now is the busiest in the country, with the Wexford downturn at the moment. The ambulance rate has increased by 50% presentations there every week. The hospital is seeing 2,500 presentations every week in the emergency department. And what support has government given to us? They've sent some Wexford staff down to help with the rota of hours. And what good is that when we do not have beds and we do not have trolleys and we have no capacity? And let me just give you an idea of capacity, Minister, from the HSE. 4 parliamentary responses I received back from the HSE in the past week in relation to capacity. I asked about the long-standing commitment to build outpatients capacity and bed capacity at St Othran's Hospital, a project that's going 10 years. And in that time, we've just managed to put a roof on the building, and the HSE responds that they expect the final refurbishment to be completed, hopefully by the end of next year, Minister. That's the earliest possibility for community beds. Another question to ask them about the laboratory extension that has been spoken about since 2016, and the response as a capital submission has been received, was looked at but is not on the HSE capital plan for 2023, and it will be provided hopefully in the near future once it goes through critical design stages and subject to the availability of funding and the prioritisation process, which we know we're certainly not getting. A question to the Minister to ask what is happening in terms of the second cardiac cath lab and the provision of additional beds. And at the end of a long preamble, Minister, the final statement tells us exactly what's happening. Work on the development of a second cardiac laboratory project was completed in Q4 2022. A number of options are currently being appraised with the hospital management with a view to identifying the most suitable solution for the provision of a cardiac day ward at University Hospital Waterford. This is a project, Minister, that's in planning since 2015. And finally, again, to ask the Minister about concerns about a bed block of 160 bed units that has been discussed now for over a year. And again, the Minister says this has been brought to the Capital Steering Group, but it needs further validation. So, Minister, at the end of the day, and I'm only talking about one hospital here, but it is the regional hospital of the South East region. And Minister, it caters to a large amount of Wexford patients, your constituents. And there is no urgency on the part of this government, and there is certainly no good faith in terms of giving us the bed capacity and the personnel capacity that we wish. And I have to say I commend Sinn Féin tonight on bringing a private member's motion about hospital waiting lists, because they are frankly a disgrace, Minister. They are an absolute disgrace, and they are getting worse. And a large part of the problem is within the gift of government. It's in terms of recruitment, it's in terms of pay, it's in terms of sorting out Section 39s, it's in terms of coming to better working conditions and providing resources to hospital doctors, to hospital nurses, to specialists and consultants. And we're faffing around, having discussion after discussion with HSE, capital steering groups, appraisal groups, clinician representative groups, but we're not making any progress, Minister. And I feel that we are now getting to a tipping point in terms of the people of this country rightly calling out what is government doing about this situation.